history, an up-and-coming writer named Mark Twain published a book called The Gilded Age. Twain gave this book such a name because he felt as though America was experiencing a business boast when observed from the outside, but in reality was having many internal issues. This title would later be adopted by historians to talk about the time period of one of the largest historical dominoes of new technologies and ideas. Gilding was a common practice in the 1880s that involved coating common material with precious metals such as gold to make them seem more valuable. This was the perfect analogy to describe the times as industrialization was flourishing, but underneath it all were corrupt politicians and greedy businessmen. Now that the Civil War was over, North and South are united and African Americans have gained suffrage. As the turbulent times were over, the American people could now place their energy into new pursuits, such as the construction of railroads and industrialization. After the Civil War, there were 35,000 miles of railroad, located mostly in the eastern coastal states. However, by 1900s, there were over 193,000 miles of railroad all over the United States. These railroads included the intercontinental tracks that allowed trains to travel from the East Coast to the West Coast and back. Inventions such as these helped fuel the 400% increase that America's economy experienced between 1860 and 1900. This expansion of the railroads created new industries and large corporations.
The Gilded Age was a period in U.S. history where a large amount of economic and rapid industrialization growth happened. There was a huge amount of monopolization of different industries, such as the railroad industry and the oil industry, even the steel industry. They're all just monopolized by these large corporations run by people like J.D. Rockefeller and John D. Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, J. Goodman, Andrew Carnegie. These people were able to seize these opportunities and further their exploits and make lots of money by developing these industries into what they are today.
During the Gilded Age, business was a key factor that helped America enhance itself economically. One of the industries that dominated the culture of the Gilded Age was the railroad business. The first transcontinental railroad was completed on May 10, 1869, in Promontory Point, Utah, by Jason J. Gould. Gould's railroads began becoming more prominent throughout all of the United States, especially in the Western America. The railroads competed fiercely for business. Competing railroads could get reduced shipping rates in return for promises of steady business. Railroad owners set up agreements to divide up territory and set up rates. These ended up failing because men like Gould refused to play by the rules. He even participated in illegal activity. Gould was on the board of directors of every railroad. However, it was having financial difficulties. In order to get ahead in the industry, Gould illegally issued 100,000 shares, causing the Erie War. John D. Rockefeller, originally from New York, at the age of 14 moved to Cleveland, Ohio. Over the years, he thrived in the business world. In the 1860s and 70s, opening or building an oil refinery was relatively low. Being involved in business and taking good opportunities in 1863, Rockefeller opened his oil refinery near Cleveland, becoming the owner of one of the largest oil refineries. In 1870, Rockefeller abandoned his partnership with other businesses and focused on his new corporation, the Standard Oil Company. The railroad needed Rockefeller's business badly, so he demanded that they pay illegal rebates to him in exchange for his business. He used this to drive out his competitors. Sometimes, the railroad companies would pay Rockefeller to transport the Standard Oil just to make sure he stayed in business with them. By mid-1880s, the Standard Oil Company was worth $70 million. Many people didn't like the Standard Oil Company, especially they did not like Rockefeller. Pressure was put onto the federal government by the public, causing them to outlaw the Standard Oil tactics in 1890. Even though the tactics were outlawed, the Standard Oil business was one of the largest, richest, and most feared businesses. Technology in the Gilded Age soared. Inventions such as the typewriter, telephone, and the phonograph were key inventions that helped shape the age. Inventors such as Thomas Edison, Alexander Graham Bell, and Christopher Latham Sholes became folk heroes for years to come. One of the inventions during the Gilded Age that helped shape modern-day society was the telephone created by Alexander Graham Bell in 1876. The telephone allowed voice to be transmitted through a wire. This revolution was first demonstrated in the Philadelphia Continental Exposition in 1876. And he didn't stop there. Bell's invention led to a bigger movement. In 1880, his company, American Bell, created long-distance telephone service known as long lines, which led to the foundation of the American telephone and telegraph as a subordinate. This invention became very popular quickly, with numbers soaring from 310,000 to 1.5 million telephones during the 1900s. Thomas Alva Edison played a huge part in creating new technology during the Gilded Age. Edison owned 1,093 patents over his whole life, which included the phonograph, motion picture camera, and the light bulb. The phonograph was invented in 1878 and is known as Edison's first great invention. The phonograph recorded someone's voice and then played it back. The invention used the vibration of the voice to cause a needle to create indentions on a drum that is wrapped with tinfoil. Later, Edison figured out how to make the phonograph permanently record music. When Edison first invented the phonograph, he tested it by saying, "Mary had a little lamb," and was delighted when he heard the phonograph play it back for him. Edison also invented the motion picture camera in 1892. The motion picture camera's purpose was to create an instrument that does for the eye what the phonograph does for the ears. The first design of the motion picture camera captured a series of photos on a cylinder, which could then be viewed under a microscope as they turned. Edison planned to add sound to this video by linking this device to his pre-invention, the phonograph. He is also commonly credited with the invention of the light bulb. In actuality, the invention has been around for years. However, these previous light bulbs were expensive, had a short lifespan, and would tend to flicker on and off at random times. Edison created a light bulb in 1878 that lasted for 13 hours by creating a vacuum with the bulb, using the right filament, and making the light bulb work with less voltage. This design was a huge improvement from previous designs, and it continued to be improved upon after Edison. The typewriter is a creation that was first patented by Christopher Latham Sholes, who wanted to make a physical object based on the concept of movable type. Before Sholes' typewriter, many knew the theory of a typing machine as one of William Burt's inventions. Only his was hard to use and often took longer to type a letter than write it by hand. Once Sholes had his more useful creation patented in 1867, he was able to release it to stores in 1874. Sholes' mechanical typewriter helped pave the way for the more modern electrical typewriter crafted by Thomas Edison. The Gilded Age can be seen as a new age of technology that made America a strong nation through rapid industrialization in the steel, oil, and railroad industries, as well as through pivotal breakthroughs in technology, such as the telephone, phonograph, and the typewriter. Although there was a huge economic growth, others see it as a corrupt time, filled of greed and illegal activities. 193,000 miles of railroad brought a nation closer, and it created a land of opportunities, making the Gilded Age as one of America's most important eras.